Hey, it's Jack from Alpha Charts with a long view video. Today is October 1st, 2023. Before we get started, this video is for informational purposes only. These are not recommendations to buy, sell, or hold any stock or security, and I may hold positions in some of the equities mentioned near your time frame and risk tolerance. All right, this is a long view video, so these are monthly charts. We have the 50-month moving average in blue, and we have the MACD on the bottom, okay? Just so we know what is going on. The process of this video will be going over every sector in the S&P, as well as every index, major index, and then we'll go over all the mega caps. So there's 18 mega caps and 17 stocks. Just so you know, I am using Deep View for my charting platform, and if you're interested, go to deepview.com for that information. If you haven't followed me yet on Twitter, at AlphaCharts365, follow me on Twitter. If you like my stuff a lot, or even mediocre, or even if you don't like my stuff, go in and subscribe to my subscription service. It's about $10. It is $10 a month, super cheap. Tons of information. Check it out if you're interested in that. And let's get into this video. All right, so starting with bonds, right? BND, and you can see we talked about this breaking down from a bearish flag looking thing. We also have a MACD crossing back over, it looks like, or trying to at least. And so yeah, not a very good look for bonds, which means rates are probably going higher. Looking at the Dow Jones Industrial, so this was starting to look constructive back here, right? And we were crossing over, and now we came right back down and crossed back, bearish cross on the Dow Jones. Again, not a very good look. At the very best, it's just sideways movement, right? And so within a range on the monthly chart, just kind of to make it a little bit bigger here. At the very best, it's a sideways movement, but there is a very significant lower high on the monthly. And again, we have to pay attention to that stuff. IWM, I talked about this being potential short setup. And you see all the marks I have on there for that. On the weekly, it works out a little bit nicer looking. But if at the very best, it's in a range, right? Nasty month, down 6.32. By the way, the Dow Jones was down 3.68. And let's see what bonds were down. Bonds were down 2.75. So going back to IWM, not a very good look. We now have, again, the back to the bearish cross. Again, it was looking like it could do something a couple months ago, but it just totally is rolling over as we speak. Maybe gets to the bottom of the range. Maybe it continues lower. Maybe it's a true short. We'll find out soon enough. But again, IWM not looking that great. Mid caps, same thing here, right? We started to get a nice MACD low cross, and it crossed back, right? So above the zero line, but it's declining, lower highs, and at the very least, we're in a range. That's the best case scenario, in a range, very wide range, but a range nonetheless, 100-point range, right? We'll see. Here's the 50-month moving average, and it keeps moving higher. And I think as long as price stays above there on the mid caps, things are okay. We do have that lower high again, right? We talked about lower highs in Dow Jones. IWM is pure disaster mess. MDY, lower high. Qs, same thing. We have that lower high. We did get a nice cross back here on the monthly, which is constructive. Things are now starting to flatten out. So we'll see if they turn lower or not from there. Right now, we could say, okay, it's making a bull flag, right? And it's kind of, gone sideways for 2 months, down 5% last month. That's a decent amount. But maybe it's just making some sort of bull flag. Still has to break this trend line, which again, on the shorter term time frames is significant as well. But that lower high, it could not get back up here. That's a theme that we're obviously seeing now. I do like that the MACD, though, is cross. If it turns lower, and that could be a problem, right? SPY, lower high, once again, and we have down 5% on the month, and we're starting to see the cross back lower, potentially And again, that would be a bearish cross if next month we do that next month or two. So again, definitely keeping a cautious look to it on the major indexes. Let's look at each sector. What sectors are holding up better than others? Well, here's materials. Again, maybe just in a sideways cross, but never got bullish cross on the MACD. So at the very best, it's no trend, right? On the XLC, it had the bullish cross back here as it broke out. It's done very well. And now maybe it's just kind of bull flagging. So XLC may be okay, right? Communications, you basically Google and Facebook. That's what holds that particular up. So energy, going back and let's zoom out on energy. You see how this was a very important area, is a very important area. It still is. It was the first sector up on the month, right? Because we had XLB was down 5%, XLC was down 3%, but energy was up 1.71. One of the few that were up, but we still are actually not crossing back over on the MACD. That's interesting, right? Like, why, right? I mean, not why. I mean, I know why, but it's not happening. That's the point. And if this rolls over here, we may see a further rollover in energy as well. XLF never crossed over. Again, lower highs. Was XLE lower high? Not really, about the same. But XLF, lower highs. Now we see multiple, and again, never got across on the MACD. XLI broke out here, right? So that was good. Tried to move higher and then came back in. And now we're getting, looks like next month we'll get that bearish MACD cross unless we get some kind of strong rally here. That's not a good look on a whoopsie breakout on a monthly chart for industrials. So again, and down 6.35. That's a big issue. Here's XOK. Let me move this whoopsie out here. So it tried to break out, try to make that higher high right there, and then fell right back into it. Now it's the second month. It was down 6.64 for the month. We do have a bullish MACD cross back here that's starting to roll over. And we'll see if it continues or not, but starting to roll over. Again, it doesn't look like this. Maybe it's starting to look, maybe it could be this, right? We don't know yet. But it's definitely not a trending market, not yet. Maybe this is some kind of, again, I hate to use the word cup and handle, but maybe it's a little handle on a cup, right? That's a possibility. But we'd have to see this start to turn back up soon. And so we don't have that yet. XLP, just not a good look. XLRE, that's real estate, not a good look. XLU, not a good look. XLV, down 3.35. Again, trending to the downside, not to the upside. Not a good look. Now, this is consumer discretionaries. So let me get rid of this trend line because we don't need that anymore. Again, it has a lower high here, which again makes me a little bit more cautious. But you do have, the MACD trying to turn up. It was down 5.72 on the week, and there's your 50-week right there, right below it. Again, lower highs. It's got to take out this high for me to get even excited about that. And that's every sector. So, maybe communications looks okay, right? Not even energy. Energy was like, right? Maybe communications. That was the only one that was really interesting to me. That's not a great average, when you go through every sector and only one of them looks good. Let's see individual stocks, what they're looking like. Again, drilling it down now. So XOM, it crossed back down to maybe it will cross back up, but not looking fantastic. It has to prove itself first, and right now it just hasn't done that. It is near all-time highs, but I want to see this, cross back up to the upside. United Healthcare right now, even though it's kind of moved sideways for a few months, it still has that downward momentum trend going for it. Walmart. Now, Walmart looks okay, right? Walmart looks okay. If it can hold this breakout, that looks okay. And again, I could definitely see a trend potentially starting to the upside here. So, all right, we got one. Eli Lilly, super strong name. Again, extended. Look at the space here compared to the space here. So maybe this is indicative of a blow off type move. Right there, went up 22% in a month. That's big numbers. We've seen it 10, 15%, but 22, that's gigantic. So we'll see what happens with here. But Lilly looks okay. Meta was in communications. Again, nice kind of trendy type move. That looks okay to me. MasterCard starting to flatten out. It's got to hold this area, right? You don't want to see a false breakout here. That would be really, really bad if we saw a false breakout there. Not quite yet. So we'll keep watching this, see if this turns down or not. Google, also in the communication sector. Again, it's known to trend, and maybe it's just the start of its next trend. JP Morgan, again, looking okay. So, sorry. Some of these individual names are holding up better than the indexes. Apple, not a good look for Apple. That looks like it wants to cross back down, and that's a whoopsie breakout right there. Not very good. Nvidia, I mean, you can see look how the space between here and here, right? That is due for a pullback. Again, how far does it pull back? We're going to find out, but that's way too extended. You see, we weren't even that extended over here, and we got a pretty good pullback. Then once we got a good space here, right, it turned it back. So it looks like it needs to pull back some more just to kind of take off some of this excess. And by the way, down 12% on the month. What was Apple down for the month? 8.86, right? Avango down 10% on the month. Again, way too much space there. Just needs to correct. I'm not saying it's got to crash, but it's got to correct. Berkshire tried to break out and couldn't, right? Again, maybe it just wasn't ready, and maybe this just needs a little bit more time. So I'm watching for that. Microsoft, again, starting to look a little bit like Apple, had the whoopsie breakout now 3 months in a row. Is this some kind of bigger bull flag? I don't know. It's really cup and handle, right? You could call it a cup and handle potentially on a monthly. I mean, maybe, but it's got to prove itself yet, and we're not seeing that as of yet. Here's Tesla. Now, Tesla trying to do a bullish cross. Hasn't quite done it, but it's trying to. And in a reasonably tight range. Here comes the 50-month. Yeah, I mean, if we could get back above 300, that'd be interesting. Not there yet. Amazon trying to get into a bullish range here. Johnson Johnson, no, it looks pretty rough. Taiwan Semi, again, looking kind of rough. Visa really couldn't break out, hasn't broken out yet, and this is kind of coming back in a little bit. And back to XOM. So individual names holding up a little bit better than the indexes, I think. But overall, I think a very cautious look on the monthly charts. I mean, some of these, let's go back mega caps real fast. You had XOM up 5.81, just to go through this. You had Health Group up 5.77. Then Walmart down 1.63 in the month. Eli down 3%. Meta was up 1.44. MasterCard was down 4. Alphabet was down 4. JP Morgan was down almost 1. Apple was down almost 9. NVIDIA was down almost 12. Avango was down 10. Berkshire was down almost 3. Microsoft down 4-ish. Tesla down 3. Amazon was down 8. Johnson & Johnson down almost 4. Taiwan Semi down 7. And Visa was down 6.4. So in the end, I mean, it's, more were down than up on the month, but they haven't completely broken apart yet. So that is what keeping me more even though the indexes aren't looking good and the sectors aren't looking great, the stocks underneath the surface are not falling apart. They're not doing great, but they're not falling apart yet. Okay, we'll see what happens. All right, there's your long view video. So far, I think things holding up better than most. I think this right here, SPY, MACD cross, if this crosses back below the orange line, then you're going to have, I think, a much bigger problem in the market. We're not quite there yet. So again, I think a cautious time in the market. All right. Take care. Good luck.